Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Global Water Partnership for Southern Africa and the Africa Coordinating Unit, of which I'm chairman of the board, and on my own behalf, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me. 1 in 3 Africans face water insecurity. About 400 million Africans have no access to safe drinking water, and about 700 million more do not have access to good sanitation. The economic and service sectors do not get the water they need for optimal performance, thus impeding socio-economic growth and development on the continent. You may recall in 2016, the then Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, and the then President of the World Bank, Dr. Jim Kim, established a high-level panel on water. In its report in 2018, the panel recommended the establishment of a water investment program for Africa. In the pursuit of that recommendation, in 2019, the African Ministers' Council on Water directed that the Africa Water Investment Program be conceived. Subsequently, the African Ministers' Council on Water Secretariat teamed up with the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, the African Development Bank, the Global Water Partnership for Southern Africa, and others to undertake the work of conceiving and developing the Africa Water Investment Program. This work was successfully concluded, and in February 2021, the Assembly of African Heads of State and Government of the African Union endorsed the Africa Water Investment Program as part of the African Union's Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, huge sums of money are required to implement the Africa Water Investment Program. The African Ministers' Council on Water estimates that about $30 billion would be required to be invested annually to be able to meet SDG 6 targets on water and sanitation in Africa by 2030. On its part, the African Development Bank estimates that $64 billion would need to be invested annually to meet the 2025 Africa Water Vision for water security for all. Currently, water investments in Africa stands at between $10 and $19 billion, thus leaving a huge investment gap to be filled, whichever estimates one uses. It is with the desire to build the capacity to mobilize increased investments and financing to implement the Africa Water Investment Program and close the investment gaps that the African Ministers' Council on Water resolved to establish the International High-Level Panel on Water Investments in Africa. I am delighted to inform this August Assembly that the Global Water Partnership for Africa has joined hands with the African Ministerial Council on Water, AUDA NEPAD, African Development Bank, UNICEF, UNDP, and the Global Center for Adaptation to be conveners of the high-level panel. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Africa Water Investment Program is designed to address the obstacles to investments and financing for climate-resilient water investments in Africa. As we all know, the biggest impacts of climate change are water-related. Perhaps nowhere is this more pronounced than in Africa, where even in the 2021 report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it is stated that the rate of temperature increase in Africa is to be faster than the global average. As a result, there is increased frequency and intensity of heavy precipitation in some parts of Africa, and there is recurrent periods of long droughts in many parts of our dear continent. At the center, or at the receiving end of this crisis, is the African farmer. With over 90%, 95% of African food production being rain-fed, Africa's subsistence farmers are among the most affected by climate change. It is of utmost urgency that increased attention is paid to adaptation interventions and investments related to water retention, storage, rainwater harvesting, water source protection, and water infrastructure. We have also been working with the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, African Ministers' Council on Water, the Development Bank of Southern Africa, the African Development Bank, OECD, UNICEF, the World Bank, and other partners to develop a first-of-its-kind Africa Water Investment Scorecard. The Africa Water Investment Scorecard will support countries to track progress, set benchmarks, identify bottlenecks, and take action to meet the investment needs to achieve SDG 6 targets on water and sanitation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Africa Water Investment Scorecard is still under development. Once completed, it is going to be presented regularly to African heads of state and government to enable them to know what is happening in the water sector in their respective countries. It will serve as an important guide for their appropriate decisions and action. The scorecard also will support the work of the International High-Level Panel on Water Investments for Africa to track progress in implementation of the Africa Water Investment Program. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we believe the scorecard will enhance mutual accountability for results in the mobilization of water investments and use, and in peer review mechanisms at continental, regional, national, subnational, and even community levels. With those many words, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for your kind attention.